Hi guys, my name is Ivo and I'm from mytestedesp.net. In the sixth part of my How to Write Clean and Testable C# code series, we are going to assert the file system. That's yet another commonly used dependency in modern day applications. So let's go to Visual Studio and see our example. As you know, we have a block application which is not written with the best practices in mind. So what we are doing in this series is refactoring it so that we make it clean, following solid, and as testable as possible. So in this example, I'm going to show you users controller, the profile picture method. The get profile picture method is a very easy and short method. It generates some sort of an URL, a path on the file system, user image destination, which is this constant here, and it is combined with the currently authenticated user. Good. Then we use the system.io file class, which is a static file class, to open, read a stream at that destination, and then we return a file result from the ASP.NET Core controller, which contains the file and some image content type. So to assert this uh, method, we're going to need to replace somehow the file system because currently we're using a static class. And as you know, I told you already in one of my previous videos, static classes are bad for testability. But what to do when the static class is not part of our code? We cannot change it. I cannot go to the file class and say, hey dude, you're not static anymore, because it's not part of my code base. We need to replace it somehow because this right here is a fixed dependency to the file system and my code is not testable. I cannot test this method without actually providing a file on the file system, which gets quite difficult because my tests should run on various different scenarios and environments. For example, on a continuous integration server, the file may not exist there. For example, uh, somewhere on some of my teammates' machine, the file may not exist there. It gets complicated. So, in order to make this logic easier to test, I will need to replace the file system. But first, if you're new around here, make sure you check my previous videos about this series. I share quite a lot of valuable information, and make sure you hit the subscribe button with the notification bell turned on, because actually uh, I'm not shy enough, and I'm sharing quite a lot of knowledge on this YouTube channel. I'm uploading 2 to 3 videos every week, and all of my videos are about advanced C# concepts. So make sure you don't miss them. You don't want to do that. Okay, now let's write our test. Let's start writing it and let's see how we can improve this static class here, because currently it's not very testable. I'm going to go to user controller test class and I'm going to add a new public async task get profile picture should return correct file result. Correct file stream result, because if I'm not mistaken, this result here is file stream result. Okay, currently the method does not throw or validate whether the file exists. Maybe that's part of the specification, so we're not going to test that. We're just going to test if the file is there every time. So that's our logic. We need to arrange, then act, then assert. I'm following the AAA methodology. And I'm going to create a user's controller. Users controller equals new users controller. I will need to provide an iMage service, but since this method does not use the iMage service, I can pass no. Then the next thing I need to do is to have an authenticated user. This user identity name is essentially an authenticated user, which luckily for us, I already made an extension method which adds a test user to my controller with a username named test user. I did that in one of my previous videos, so make sure you check that out if you haven't already. So I'm going to say with test user here, and my controller is done. But what to do with the file system? When you have a static class which you need to replace, but this static class is not part of your code base, the easiest solution is to just wrap it around an interface and use the static class inside that interface. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce a new interface, iFileSystemService. iFileSystemService here. And I'm going to make my controller use the file system service instead of the file static class, because iFile system service can be easily replaced. Okay, what method do I need here? I will need open read. I will need to say stream open read and string path, like this. Essentially, I'm copying pasting the same functionality but behind an interface. So I'm going to reuse the name, I'm going to reuse the parameters, I'm going to reuse everything. I'm just going to make it behind an interface. Then I'm going to need a new class which will be file system service, which needs to implement the iFile system service here. Like this, I'm going to implement the method, and then the method should have the following logic: return file.openRead path, like this. And I'm going to use an expression body. When my service is ready, I will need to register it in my web application so that every single controller can use it. So I'm going to add iFile system service here to file system service, like that. And I'm going to say when somebody asks for an iFile system service implementation, give them this one. And now what I need to do is I need to add that service to my controller and register it. Like this. And now my getProfilePicture method will use the file system service interface instead of the original static class. This way, I can easily replace the iFileSystem service here in my unit test, and essentially I'm using the same functionality I was using before, but now my user's controller is more abstract and is following the solid principles better. Great, and what we need to do now is we need to assert that. But first, let me show you where you can find this source code and where you can download it so that you can examine it or play with it. You need to go to my GitHub profile, which is Ivai Lukenov, then hit repositories, write down TV here, and this repository contains all the source code I am showing in my video lessons. I'm also linking them here, so you may find a lesson which is interesting for you. The source code is right here, so if you download or clone the repository, you may take a look at it. I will be extremely thankful if you give this repository a star, and if you like, you may watch it, because usually I'm uploading the code and the video links in the repository before I make the videos public on YouTube. So if you watch the repository, you may find my videos earlier than everyone else. I'm going to use this moment to thank my sponsors. That's Bellatrix, ReSharper from JetBrains, Softuni, SmartIT, Noblehar, and 1Bit Software. Thank you guys, you are great, you truly rock, and you motivate me to continue doing what I love, and that's teaching others and creating open source libraries for developers. Thank you again. Now let's return to Visual Studio and assert that getProfilePicture method, because we refactored our user's controller to use an interface instead of a static class. Coming here, now I can see that my user's controller starts showing errors because I need to provide the iFileSystem in service implementation too, but all the methods that are not using it, there is no need for a fake service. I'm going to provide a no one. Here I can provide a no one too, and here I'm going to use a fake file system service. So let's create one. As you know, in this series I'm not using a mocking framework because I don't want to overcomplicate this tutorial. It's always better to use a mocking framework, and I'm going to show you guys how to use mock in one of my future videos, but in this particular series we want to concentrate on the refactoring and on the unit testing itself, so I'm creating fake objects manually. Let's create a fake file system service here. And let's implement the iFileSystem interface, iFileSystem service. And what I need to do here is I would need to return some kind of stream. Let's delete this code, and we need to provide a fake stream here. We have a couple of options. We can use stream.no, but that may throw some exception or may not be enough in our unit tests. You should try it, because in some situations it works fine. But we are going to validate whether the file result returns the correct stream, so let's use something else. You can return a memory stream. New memory stream, and we can, but we should not dispose it here. If we dispose it here, it won't be available in our unit test, so let's not do that. New memory stream, and I'm going to pass a buffer. I'm going to use encoding .utf8 get bytes from the path. Essentially, I'm just going to return a memory stream containing the path as bytes. And I'm going to use the expression body syntax because I like all my one-line methods to be written with an arrow, with the arrow function, with the arrow symbol, sorry. Cool. Now, when we have the fake file system service, let's use it in our controller. I'm going to say that I have fake. Let's instantiate it here. New fake file system service like this. And our user's controller is ready and it should be arranged. Now, what I need to do is to act var result equals await user's controller dot get profile picture like that, and I will need to assert the result. I will need to assert that the file stream result contains the correct stream and contains the correct image content type, and we can extract from the stream whether the path is correct. And this way we're going to validate everything in this action: the path, the stream, and the image content type. Okay, first, file stream result is type file stream result. Then we need to validate whether the stream here is a memory stream, and we need to validate whether the content type is the correct content type. Okay, let's first validate the memory stream. The memory stream should come from file stream result dot file stream. That's the stream which the controller is passing here. And we should validate it that it's of type memory stream. Like this. Then we should start reading the stream. We need to extract the memory stream byte array we're saving in it, and that's just by calling toArray. So I'm extracting the data, then I need to convert it. Going memory stream data, then I need to convert it to a string because I saved a string here, the actual path. So I'm going to say var memory stream data as text equal encoding.utf8.getString from the memory stream data. We can even do it on one line, memory stream data, like this. And I can validate it. Then I can say assert assert equal memory stream data, like this. Now, what's the path here? The path is written here. It should be this, followed by the uh, username of the user, which during the unit test is test constants test username. I'm going to use that like this. Then I would need to have underscore optimized JPEG. That should be the valid data from the memory stream. And the next thing I would need to validate is the image content type. Now, if you don't want to copy these strings, you may make these constants public, but it's debatable whether it's a good practice to do that. I believe these constants should be private. You may extract this constant globally. For example, users controller, you may create controller constants like this. Controllers constants like this, and extract the constants here. You may do that. So I'm going to open the user's controller and extract this to the controller. Oh, I have that class already. So I'm going to reuse it. I'm going to say, okay, public const string image content type. And the user controller will now use controller constants dot image content type, like this. We may even extract this one if we like. It doesn't matter, as you prefer. It's a good idea to extract common constants to some sort of constants related class. So in the user's controller test, let's extract that. Let's do it. Let's do it perfectly. I'm going to extract that constant here and move it to the constants like this. User image destination. I'm going to make it public and I'm going to reuse it here because I don't want to use the same controller constants name everywhere. I'm going to say using static. Good. And now I can use the same logic here in the test, like that, and I can reuse the constants, test constants, test username, and this will come from the using static controller constants. Good, like this. And now it should be working correctly. I would like to extract expected uh, profile picture path equals this, and then I'm going to assert it like that. It makes the code cleaner and more readable. And last but not least, I will need to validate the image content type, which is again from the file stream result here, from the result of the action, dot content type, like this. And this unit test is ready. Let's run it and validate whether we have any sort of mistakes. No, we don't have. Let's run all tests because we changed the user's controller and we want to be sure that everything is passing correctly. Great. All unit tests are passing correctly, and in this video we learned how to extract static classes which are not related to our code base, because if our code base contains static classes, we may redesign them so that they are not static anymore. But when we're dealing with external static classes which are not from our programmers, for example the file system like here, we need to wrap that static class into a interface and use the interface. This way we're making the user's controller using abstraction instead of a fixed dependency, which is a static class. Great, guys. That's pretty much it about this video, and before I finish recording it, I would like to show you my testing tool about the ASP.NET Core Framework. Essentially, it's a strongly typed unit testing library providing very easy fluid interface to validate all your web applications components, for example, controllers, view components, services, and so on. It's written in my free time for the last couple of years. The project is quite huge and has quite a lot of options. You can write tests in a matter of seconds, so make sure you check it out. And if you really like the project, or if you really like this channel, which is providing you free advanced C# lessons, consider supporting me on Patreon or on Open Collective. You may also support me on PayPal and buy me a coffee. It will mean a lot to me. Thank you, guys, and make sure you hit the like button if you had fun with this video, and make sure you say in the comments down below why you love writing clean and testable code. Bye.